Cool. Well, I'll just kick us off here. So thanks everyone for coming and joining this webinar. We're very excited to talk about flipping homes in the current market and how you can maximize profit. So there's two of us hosting this webinar today. You've got Garrett and myself. Garrett, I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Sure. So as you can see, my name is Garrett Labar. I've been an underwriter at Calvert for over 2 years now. And I've been in the private mortgage world for over 5 years. And I'll get into more about what Calvert does later on in this webinar.
Yeah, perfect. And I'm Alan Kelly. I'm one of the founders of Bōde, and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here. For those who don't know Bōde, in a nutshell, we are a licensed real estate brokerage, but also a tech company. And what we do is we make it easy for people to buy and sell property and save money at the same time. And I'll also get into a little bit more detail about what we do in a moment. But before I hand over to Garrett, I thought it would be good to step back a little bit and just look at some market data on what's happening with supply and demand right now in the Calgary market. So here we've got some data from the city of Calgary. This is all residential listings. And we're looking at new listings. So this is new homes that have been brought to the market, listed on MLS. So the purple line is 2018 and the green line is 2019. So the first thing you notice is that, well, month by month, it follows a pretty seasonable pattern. And in 2020, when COVID hit in March, there was this huge drop in the number of listings that typically come to market around that time. So about a 57% drop in new listings. And then those new listings recovered quite quickly, so that by June, it was back to close to normal. And since then, it's been a little closer to what you'd expect for this time of year, but actually a little lower. So 13% lower in August, 6% lower in September. So new listings are really a bit of a gauge of supply. So what that shows is you had this big drop in listings here, and those listings never kind of came to the market, which means inventory is now lower. If you look at the other side of demand, I've got the same charts here for sales. So this is how many homes sold on MLS month by month. So you can see, again, very strong seasonal pattern. It's normally very similar every year. In 2020, a huge drop due to COVID. So sales were down 63% compared to previous years. But then they came back stronger than new listings did. So they've been positive in July, August, and September versus previous years. And September was actually a very strong month. So a lot of sales took place in September relative to the previous 2 years. So what that means, because sales are strong in the last few months and new listings have been relatively weaker, what that means is now there's less inventory available for sale, so less homes available for sale than there would typically be at this time of year. So the implication here is for people looking to buy is there's actually less options available out there. And for those people who are selling right now, you've got less competition, and you've also got pretty strong sales for this time of year. So September and October looking good relative to a normal year. Anything to add to that, Garrett?
Not particularly. I would say that it depends on the price of the homes you're looking at and what kind of homes they are. I know you can compare that to Bōde. The condo market has been a lot tougher than the detached market, and certain neighborhoods are better than others. So I know we'll dig into that a little deeper in this presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on. So this inventory chart here we're looking at covers all different kinds of inventory. That's detached, attached, apartments. And like you say, inventory of apartments right now is actually higher than the same time at previous years, and sales are lower. So it's a different story there. So fully agree. Totally depends on the property type and the community. But that's just a little background context for our conversation today. And then the way we came about doing this webinar together, Bōde and Calvert, was that we had a shared customer in common. So a customer who'd done the financing with Calvert and then ultimately sold their home through Bōde. So Garrett, I'm going to hand over to you here to present this one and then to work on through your section.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into this, I just want to state that if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. There's a Q&A button that you should see, and please feel free to leave them. We'll answer as many as we can. So yeah, Bōde and Calvert, we knew each other previous to this flip, but this is when we really started to do webinars together, and we saw the relationship that we could have and build a team off of it. So this particular flip was a married couple's first ever flip. I sat down with them personally, went through the process, talked to them, got to know them better, see how they felt about the market and what to do. Unfortunately, they bought right before COVID hit, so we thought it might be tough timing. But they were able to sell during COVID, and using Bōde to sell the property, they were able to save $4,000 in commissions and make over $36,000 in profit, which is pretty impressive for your first flip. So it was a really neat way how we got to know each other, Calvert and Bōde. It was just by chance. They listed with Bōde, and that's how we came to know each other. Anything to add there, Alan?
No, I think that sums it up well. I mean, it's been great working together, and we're excited to work on more flips. And so now it's probably good to shift into your presentation, Garrett, and just let me know when you want to move through these slides, and I'll move them forward for you.
For sure, sounds great. Is there an echo at all for you?
No, I'm hearing you perfect.
Okay, I just hear myself twice. All good. Yeah, so a little bit of background about Calvert. We've been working with flippers for over 30 years now. We've dealt with lots of people through different markets and have learned a lot over the years. We're happy to work with our clients, and we wish everyone success, and we really care for our clients. So digging right into it, first I should say we did a previous webinar to this one, and it was a lot more detailed about how to flip and certain things. And you can definitely go see that on YouTube, and we'll send out a link to that as well. This one's being recorded too. And this one's going to focus more on some case studies and different ways we've financed certain properties in different flips. So first thing is buy right. You make money on the buy. So looking for good properties to flip and being able to close quickly is really important. Renovating for the market, make sure you understand which neighborhood has low inventory, which properties are selling in which price range. So typically we see our flippers trying to purchase anywhere between the $300,000 to or even the $200,000 to $400,000 range, and doing a renovation and selling in that $400,000 to $500,000 range. So you're still in the right part of the market for selling a property in a tough economy. Make sure you're sticking to a budget. So know your numbers, understand your costs and everything, and make sure you're not going above that budget. Quick renovations, really important in a flip is to make sure that you are doing the renovations as quickly as possible and getting it on the market. Therefore, there's not as much carrying costs, and you can get more profit out of it. And just make sure you understand all your costs, your numbers, build a team, anything to help you be successful in flipping. Go to the next one. So yeah, sourcing deals. So you want to make a plan. There are deals out there to be had, and we've seen a lot of flippers do well during COVID, and they have a plan in place to make sure they get the best price to purchase properties. And the way they do that is by having a team. So Calvert can certainly assist with the financing. We can pre-approve our clients on a personal basis so that we're ready to go and that you can do quick closings. Bōde can help a lot with your you're closing and finding properties as well, getting some of the market data, which Alan will go into further in this presentation. And other ways people look at finding properties is checking titles and looking for foreclosures. Unfortunately, that's the way of the world right now. There's going to be probably quite a few foreclosures coming up as deferrals end. So you can solve their pain by purchasing quickly and getting a good purchase price, and it's beneficial in both sense, but it's hard to hear.
We've got a quick question here, Garrett, on the previous case study that you showed about the Reno costs. So
Yep.
Reno costs of $44,000. That includes a new kitchen, the question says. Was there anything else included in the $44,000 of Reno? So what were the Renos that happened on that example?
Yeah, so it was a pretty basic Reno. It was flooring, kitchen, and bathrooms mainly. So I can certainly send you some more pictures of what it looked like after, and you would see that it's pretty basic. So they got some new appliances in there, pretty much a brand new kitchen, but their main focus was kitchen and bathrooms, which I will go into later, but that usually has the best margin for putting in money and getting it out.
Yeah, great. And that's probably a good segue into your next slide here.
Perfect. Yeah, so understanding reno costs and making sure that you know what you're going to get out of those costs. So you can kind of read through the side here. These are all good ideas of what you can consider for flipping. So refining hardwood, resurfaced tubs, tiles sell. A lot of people don't know the difference between costs of tiles. And so even if you have tiles in there and they're not as expensive, it'll look superior for the bathrooms. Try not to do mechanical upgrades unless you really have to. It can get really expensive and you can't always get that money back. A good roof is important. Make sure you're renovating to the community standard. So when you're looking at a certain community, you want to make sure you stick to that standard. You don't want to go above, and you don't want to be selling at the highest price in that neighborhood. And going with trends. So understanding what's on trend. So if that's white cabinets, open floor plans, anything like that, make sure you understand that and stick to it, because obviously that's what buyers are looking for. New kitchen appliance is really important. And then property inspections are something that we always recommend. We want to make sure that the property is structurally sound. You don't want to take over a flip that has some cracks in the foundation or anything that could be major renovation. And Calgary communities. So kind of how Alan touched on with inventory, it's really important to look at the inventory within a certain neighborhood. Make sure that it's a lower inventory so that you have a more likelihood of selling quickly. And certain flippers focus on certain communities. Others will just go with good deals. So it's just important to understand what other properties are out there, both recent sales as well as current active listings. Make sure you know what you're competing against. So just want to get into our flip product now. I should say we have 120 million in our fund, and about 25% of that right now is flip mortgages. So we do a lot of flip financing. As I stated before, good deals sell fast, so you need to close quickly. We can pre-approve you on a personal basis so that when you have a property in mind, we can act quick and get into the details. I'll give you a quick example of a meeting I had just yesterday with a prospective flipper. We met in the office yesterday at 10 a.m. I told him what we would need to be able to pre-approve him personally. He sent all that information in within 3 hours. He had a property in mind. He sent in his budget and renovation details so that we could complete a valuation in-house by our in-house appraiser. We did that within, I think it was within 3 hours, and I was able to send out a commitment letter the same day. So it all occurred in the same day. He can now go purchase that property within the next week, and he was able to get a good purchase price for that. So it's a quick process, and in order to get those good deals, you need to act quick. Other lenders will only lend on the current value. We're lending on the after repaired value, and traditional financial institutions have payout penalties. So you want to make sure you understand all your costs when you go into a mortgage. So as I mentioned before, we're really in it for our flippers. We want to make sure that you're profitable. So we really work with you to make sure that it's a good deal. We want you to make profit on every single deal. So we're going to have those conversations with you. We're going to work through it with you. We're going to give you a second opinion. So yeah, we just want to make sure you're making money. We value the property, like I said, in-house. That's at no cost to our clients. And the minimum down payment that we need is 10 grand. That's at a higher interest rate. If you want to put more money down, then we'll lower that interest rate, but they're all fully open mortgages. Renovation cost and monthly interest only payments are the things that you'll have to cover, as well as the down payment. And we will provide any expertise we can along the way. So here's our solution. This is a little bit dated, but it states 80% loan to value of the after repaired value. That's not the case right now. During COVID, we've pulled back just a bit. We're currently doing about 70% loan to value of the after repaired value. So just want to keep that in mind. Still, the minimum down payment is 10 grand, but we want to still be below that 70% loan to value of the after renovated value, which we would determine in-house. And we want to make sure that you have the capital and the renovations, capital for the renovations, as well as down payment and carrying costs. So, like I said, there's no fee for our valuations internally, so you get a second opinion. 15.5% interest rate is only on the 10 grand down. Like I said, as you put more money down, that interest rate goes down. And it's a 3% fee. It's actually a 1.5 to 3% fee. And that's determined on a deal by deal basis.
So we've got a quick question here for you, Garrett, from one of the attendees. Question is, do you only lend in Alberta, or does Calvert also lend in Ontario as well?
Yeah, good question. We just started lending in Ontario. We're really excited because we know there's a lot of opportunities out there to flip. So we are lending in Ontario as well. So Alberta and Ontario right now.
Great.
So I went over this already. Lowest down payment, $10,000 equals 15.5% interest rate. An important thing to note on that is that flips shouldn't take you a year. So 15.5% is annualized. If you consider 15.5% on a monthly basis, it's below 1.3%. So like I said, the quicker you do these renovations, the better, and it'll give you the most profit, which I'll show you in some case studies how well some people have done. Interest rate can be reduced, larger down payment. Benefit of a small down payment is that you can do multiple properties at once. If you have a team of contractors, or you have the ability to take on 2 properties at the same time, then your profit is going to go up as well, as long as you're successful in those properties. But we support you in any way that you want to do it. Like I said, we're happy to sit down with any prospective flippers, discuss what might be the best way to proceed. And yeah, we're really in it for the clients. So we'll get into some case studies here. So you can kind of see all the numbers on the right-hand side of how these people did. The net profit was over $40,000 on this one in just over 3 months. So they did this really quickly. I believe it was a renovation that took them about a month and a half, and it took them a month and a half to sell. So you see a purchase price of $313,000. So they did the minimum down payment of $10,000, and we provided a loan amount of $303,000 plus the commitment fee at the bottom. So we're pretty much going to 98, 99% of the current loan to purchase price. So it's a pretty risky mortgage for us on our end, but we don't see it that way because we trust our clients, we get to know you, and we see the benefit, and you can see it by the net profit of over $40,000 in just 3 months. So pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Another idea, it's really interesting to see the pictures on these. I really try and focus on the kitchens because that's where you see the drastic changes of what our flippers do. Again, this was one where they did it really quickly. They renoed and sold it within 3 months, and they did the $10,000 down, 15.5, and they made over $44,000. And that's after everything. So we take when I state net profit, that's after realtor costs, that's after your utility costs, that's after carrying costs, it's after everything. So that's what they're putting in their pocket. And so there are some differences. We still consider it a flip if you're doing renos to the property. But this is a case where one of our flippers who has done multiple ones in the past, he did the renos and he put it on the market, I think, for about a month, and then realized this isn't really what he wanted. He actually wanted to move into the property. And so he contacted his mortgage broker. The mortgage broker was like, yeah, we can get you approved for this. So he was able to refinance with the bank in just over 5 months and was able to get a bank mortgage of $324,000 after renovations. So we were providing a loan amount of $200,000, and he paid that out plus a lot of that through that mortgage. So our flip program can work in a lot of different ways that we're happy to assist with. This is an example of a little more money down. So you have a purchase price of $311,000. This person put down $81,000. As you can see, the interest rate is lower than the 15.5 because of that down payment. And he did a really incredible job. He purchased it exactly how you see above in the before and turned it into a pretty impressive product and made over $49,000 in just over 6 months. So that one took him a little longer. The renovation didn't take that long. I think he knew he listed it a little too high. And if he listed it closer to our valuation, then he probably would have got a quicker sale. Another example of what we can do is we did a second mortgage for this one. This client had the property for quite some time, used it as a rental, and then wanted to sell it, but realized he could get a lot more out of the property if some renos were completed. So did some renovations to the property. We were able to provide the second mortgage to do these renos and help him with that. And he was very happy with the sale price after doing the renos. And did we lose the slides?
Slides they're on my screen.
There we go.
Are you not able to see them?
No, you're good now. You're good now.
Maybe with that opportunity, I do have one more question for you here.
Yeah.
It's just come in. The question is, what's your rate with 75 to 80% LTV? And does it go down to under 10%?
So typically, if a client is putting somewhere between 25 to 35% down, we will consider going under that 10% rate. There's also instances, which I'm going to show coming up here, where we can blanket another property that you own to be able to get that rate down as well. We're going to work with our clients as much as we can to make sure that we get we want to make sure they're happy with what they're getting, and we want to work with our clients to make sure that they get the rate that they want. But to keep in mind, if you're doing these flips really quickly, that rate has less and less effect on your overall costs. So if you're doing them quickly, it shouldn't affect it too much. But certainly, if you put more down, we'll work with you to get that rate down.
And then we have another question here real quick, just to follow up on that one. Someone's asking if you can give an example of how the interest is calculated. So based on my calculation, $300,000 times 15.5% interest equals $46,000. How do I find out how much the client will be paying monthly? That's the question.
Okay, we can hold on that just for now, because I do have our flip analyzer in one of the slides coming up here, which will show you kind of a breakdown of all the costs. But it is simple. It's simple interest-only payments. So it's a pretty easy calculation. But after this presentation, we'll send out this flip analyzer that can handle all those cost calculations for you.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's go to the next one. So here's the example of where we allowed this client to purchase a property with just 10 grand down, but they gave us another property as extra security to get the rate down. Now that property didn't have much equity, but because it was part of the loan and gave us a little more security, we were able to bump the rate down a bit. This client still did extremely well, net profit of over $46,000 in just 5 months, and did a really incredible job on a condo in Calgary. And I wouldn't suggest condos all the time, but he purchased at a price that was low enough to be able to do that. So he did really well, but condos are becoming more and more difficult to sell as inventory goes up. This is one to just show you how quick some renovations can be done. Purchased the property, as you see before, and sold it after doing a reno and sale within 2 months.
Wow.
So this was super quick. Had a lot of trades in there. Maybe you can't do that right now with COVID, and so you got to budget for a little more time, as you might need to have trades in at different times. But really impressive how quickly they were able to get this property done and on the market and sold. And one more to show you just how you can refinance these. There's certain times where mortgage brokers will get or even a client will get a appraisal that states that the property is in poor or fair condition. When that happens, the banks don't tend to lend on those properties. So we're happy to help them buy this property and do the renovations in order to get a new appraisal that'll state that it's in average or better condition, so that the banks will be able to refinance. So that was the case with this one. We helped them purchase it. They put their down payment in the renovations. It was really small renovations to make it in better condition, and they were able to refinance in under 4 months. So that's another way we can help with our flip program.
So another quick question for you here from one of our attendees: where are these places people are buying for $240,000? It'd be really good to know which communities they're in.
Sure.
Do you have any of that on the top of your head?
I don't have the exact communities, and we tend not to discuss too much of it because we want to make sure that our clients aren't. It's just confidentiality. So, but I know that one was in the Northeast, the $200,000 ones, and it was a private sale. There are a lot of flippers that have different ways of getting properties, whether they're putting flyers in mailboxes or just quickly acting on properties that come to the MLS that you can get pretty cheap, or their foreclosure properties. So I know that one was in the Northeast. The other one was in the Southeast. That was a lower purchase price than there. Yep. But yeah, I'm not, I don't know the exact community.
But mostly in Calgary, these examples, or all in Calgary?
There might have been one in Edmonton, but other than that, they're all in Calgary.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And so here's just an example of some kitchens that have been renovated that we've helped finance. The kitchen's super important. It's your selling feature, and you can see how detailed and beautiful these properties are. I don't have the before photos, but it's such a drastic change and really, really cool to see what you can come up with in different styles. So really well done by this client, and I would highly suggest you put this sort of detail in your properties. This is a little higher end reno, so it's going to cost you a little more. But if you're going in those higher end neighborhoods, that's kind of what you have to do to be able to compete with the other properties. So last thing here is knowing your numbers. So make sure you have your purchase costs, finance costs, operating costs, everything set out so that you know what the cost of your flip is going to be. You want to make sure you know everything. And I'm going to kind of go through our flip analyzer here that's going to show you what I mean by that. So this is something we've developed. It's our flip analyzer tool, and our clients are welcome to change it in any way that they want, and you can market it yourself. And so you can kind of go through here and see purchase costs, all your selling costs, operating costs, renovation budget. So we really go into the details of every single cost that occurs during a flip to make sure that we know it's going to be successful. You want to make sure you know everything. And you'll see in here we put the after repaired value. That's typically what we insert there is our valuation internally, so that we can understand if it's going to be a profitable deal. And you'll see that as well. You'll see in here, as per the question that was asked before, that interest cost per month is stated in here. So when you input all the numbers, that will allow you to show what the cost is per month for carrying costs. And yeah, you can kind of go through that, but we're going to send it out after this so that you can have a closer look and feel free to use it on all your deals that you have. So this is the second portion of that flip analyzer. So it's on the same spreadsheet. Just couldn't fit it into one slide, but you'll see where we come up with the profit on the right-hand side. And this was one of the case studies previously stated in this presentation. And you'll see some of the impressive numbers in here. Return on cash invested of 46%, on an annualized basis, 159%. And at the bottom, if you go to the flip analysis, you'll see that it also calculates if you were to take an extra month to do renos and sell, this is what your profit should be. And if it was one less month, then this is what your profit would be. So as I stated, really important to know your numbers, stick to those budgets, and make sure that all these numbers make sense and that there's a profit opportunity on these deals.
Brilliant. Well, thanks a million for that, Garrett. Really good stuff there. Great. I love seeing the flip analyzer tool. I just think that's such a helpful way of looking at it. I think it's such useful information, and it's the diligence of just going through all those numbers makes the difference between a profitable sale and one that's far less profitable.
Absolutely. And it's something that we will go over with our clients as well as mortgage brokers. We have lots of flippers that work with mortgage brokers because it's important to have that advice as well and see what your best options are. So yeah, I look forward to hearing from lots of you, and looking forward to Alan's presentation now, as he's got some really interesting platform that I would certainly use as a flipper to get some of my data on neighborhoods and Calvert in particular.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that intro. And so, going to shift gears now a little bit, and we talked about financing your flip, and now we're going to talk a little bit about how to then sell and the tools that Bōde can bring to help you buy and sell, and also do some of that research that Garrett was talking about. So, really quickly, again, Bōde is a new online real estate brokerage. So, like I said earlier, we help people buy and sell homes, and we give them all of the tools and information they need to be able to do much more of the process than they would traditionally have been able to. And they have much more control over the process too, from everything from choosing how much commission you want to offer to having all the transparency on exactly how many views your listing has received, and real-time information on showing requests and offers that are coming in. So we'll cover all that in a moment. But stepping back again and thinking about the three things that you need to successfully flip homes. So the first thing is you need good data and you need good research tools. So like Garrett was mentioning, it's really important to understand supply and demand by community. So the communities that you are specifically looking to flip homes in, you want to know what's happening there. How much competition is there in the category that you're looking at, whether it's detached or attached or apartments. And you want to be able to do the research so you can see not just what's currently listed, but also what's recently sold. So what prices are actually achievable in that community for the kind of properties that you're looking at. And we have a whole suite of tools at Bōde that let you do just that. And I'm going to come on to those in a minute. The second thing you need is the right financing. And that's really what Garrett's just talked through right now, and making sure you're getting the funding that you need for your flip and you've got the right lender on your team. And certainly we love recommending Calvert because they really do this second bullet point here really well, which is they really understand value creation and what are the renovations that you're going to do that's going to drive a higher price when you come to sell, and their knowledge on that is fantastic, and that's why we love recommending them to our sellers. And then the third thing you really need is support buying and selling. So you have to, on the buy side, you have to be able to find the right properties, you have to be quick, and you want to, on the sell side, try and maximize your exposure. So make sure when you're listing your home for sale, as many people as possible are seeing it. And at the same time, you'd love to be able to reduce those transaction fees, so paying less out in commissions and fees to try and increase your profit. And really, that's, again, where Bōde comes in to try and help you do that. So I'm going to go through those two items, numbers 1 and number 3. So in terms of data and research tools, what we offer at Bōde are 3 tools. The first one's a market data tool. So what this does is it lets you see what's on the market and what's sold at a community level. And this lets you can see the supply and demand and trends and prices. And I'm going to show you a live demo of that in a moment. The second tool is called our sold data tool. And this is where you can just find out what price any home in Alberta sold for in the last 10 years. So if the home sold in the last 10 years and it was listed on MLS, you can see the sold price for that property on our website. And I'll show you that in a moment. And then we've got a third tool, which is our comparables tool. So you can enter 8 features of a specific home. It's things like, is it a detached home, attached? Is it a bungalow? What's the square footage? How many beds? How many baths? How much parking? What community is it in? And what we'll do is return the most similar, the most comparable live listings. So that's your current competition. And then sold listings so that you can see recent comps. And again, all of this data is just available for you on our website. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of that. So I'm going to jump out of this presentation, and I'm going to take you over to our website here. So this is our website, bodecanada.com. And when you arrive here, you'll see we've got in the top menu a drop-down menu for sold data. So the first tool we've talked about is market data. So I'm going to take you over there. And on this page, this is where you can do what I was mentioning. So you can take any city in Alberta. Here we're on Calgary. We can choose any community that we're interested in. Let's take a look at Altadore here. So I've selected Altadore. I can look at any different kinds of property types that I like. So whether it's detached, attached, apartments, any view I want is available to me here. So let me choose detached. I can choose the number of beds and baths, what year it was built, what price it's listed for, etc. And then what I'll see is the total number of active listings. So there's 31 active listings in Altadore that are detached homes. On average, they've been on the market for 66 days. The average list price is currently $1 million, and the average price per square foot is $516. So that's everything to do with your kind of current competition, what's active. And then we've got sold, and here we can set our sold period. So I've got it set to 1 year, but I can change that to 6 months or 10 years. And so you can see in the last year, 70 detached homes have sold in Altadore. On average, they've been on the market for 47 days, and you can see what the average sold price was here and the average sold price per square foot, and the average sold price over the list price, so showing you how much of a discount generally from list price are these homes being sold at. You've also got some great graphs down here below. So if you want to chart something over time and look at, okay, how has the sales prices been trending month over month, or if you want to look at it year over year, you can choose any of those metrics here. And you can also look at sales volumes too. So that's market data. The second tool that I mentioned was called sold data. So if I click on that, here's where I'm able to look up the sold price of any property that's sold in Alberta in the last 10 years. So I can come in here and I can say, you can either search around on the map here to find the home that I'm interested in, or I can filter down already from these menus at the top, and I can say, well, let's just look at Altadore. So select Altadore out of the list. And now I'll zoom in here to just Altadore. And again, I can choose my sold period here at the top. So if I just want to look at things that have sold recently, I can choose the last few months or the last year or the last 10 years if I want. But what I've got here is everything that's sold in Altadore in the last year. And I can click on any of these dots. Let's say I choose this one. 38th Avenue Southwest, 1647. I can see the year it sold, the month it sold, the price it sold for, what the original list price was, square footage, beds, baths, lots of great information here that helps me assess what kind of home that was. Again, you can go back 10 years here. So if this property is sold multiple times in that 10 years, that'll show up. Each time the property is sold will show up here. So you can see for this one, it sold in January 2020. Prior to that, the last time it sold was February 2011. And you can see the price that it sold for back then. So that's our sold data tool. And then the final one is called comparables. And we're short on time, so I probably won't go through this in much detail. But here's where you can enter the address of the home you're interested in, the property type, style, year built, some other information. And what you'll get when you click apply there is you'll get the 5 most comparable live listings and the prices that they're listed at. You'll be able to click through to view those listings. And you'll also get the 5 most comparable recently sold properties with a match score that shows you how comparable are they. So you might have something that's a 95% match and you can see what price that home sold for. So that's a quick whirlwind tour of our data tools. And again, when thinking about flipping all of that information, typically in the past, regular people have not had access to that. In order to get that kind of data, you'd have to work with a realtor and you'd have to ask them to send you any sold comparable you're interested in. On our site, you can simply look up anything that you're interested in. So it's entirely self-service. You just have to create an account by giving us your email address and entering a password. But we don't have any sales calls. There's no spam. There's no hooks with that. It's just free access to the data. So now I'm just going to get into a little bit of what Bōde does for buyers and sellers. So for buyers, you're able to search listings. So on our website, we have all of the listings that are on MLS, so everything that's listed on Realtor.ca. We also have everything that's been listed with us on Bōde. So you're able to browse listings. You can personalize your search. So if you want to get notified when a new home comes on the market in a particular area, you can set up a saved search for that. So like Garrett was talking about earlier, if you want to be really quick and be the first to know when a bungalow comes available in the area that you're interested in, you can set up that search so you're notified straight away when that happens. Again, that's something you would typically have to ask a realtor to do, but here it's self-service. Set it up yourself and you'll receive it automatically. On our site, you're able to schedule showings directly with the seller if it's a Bōde listing. Otherwise, you're able to schedule a showing with the listing agent. So it's in just 2 clicks, you can choose your time and date that you'd like to come for your showing and instantly set that up. You can also chat with the seller. So when it's a Bōde listing, you're interacting directly with the seller without any middlemen. And when it's an MLS listing, you're chatting with the seller's agent. One of the big innovations that we've brought to the market is the ability to be able to make an offer online. So on any listing page for anything that's for sale in all of Alberta, you can make your offer online through our website. You use our negotiation tools that walks you through all of the different terms you should think about when putting together an offer, and you can negotiate back and forth with the seller. All of that auto-populates a MLS standard provincial residential purchase contract. So we're taking care of all of the contracts for you so that you can ultimately close the deal with the seller. And we offer all of that to buyers for free. We don't take any fee from the buyer, and we don't take any fee from the seller for that scenario. So all of these tools are really free for you to take advantage of and save a lot of money when buying your homes. So that's what we do for buyers. Then in terms of what we do for sellers, when you've renovated your home and now you want to sell it again, what we do is we cover the cost of professional photos and measurements that you need to get on MLS and 3D virtual tours. So we take care of all the upfront costs. We list your property everywhere online where buyers are looking. So that's realtor.ca is where a lot of people go. A lot of people come to our own website, Bōde. About 20% of people use Zillow instead of realtor.ca in Canada. Lots of people are surprised to hear that. But we also list on Kijiji and hundreds of other sites. But in short, what we're doing is we're putting your listing everywhere to get it as many eyeballs as possible. What we do that's very different to a traditional listing brokerage is we then advertise your specific property on Facebook, Instagram, and Google. So we buy ads and we target an audience of active buyers who are likely to be interested in your specific home. And again, we spend on these ads at our own expense. So there's no direct charge to you for this. And through this approach, we're able to generate 2 to 3 times more listing views, showings, and ultimately offers as a result. So 2 to 3 times more than if you were just listed on realtor.ca. So you're really getting a lot more eyeballs and a lot more traffic to your listing. Then, as I mentioned, what we do is we put buyers in direct contact with sellers right from the listing page. So if someone sees one of those ads and they go to your listing page, when they click to book a showing or when they click to ask you a question, all of that's just going directly to you with no middleman in between. And as I mentioned on the buy side, when you're selling with us, buyers are able to make offers and negotiate with you and do all of the contracts all entirely online. So they're given everything they need to be able to transact with you without a realtor if they want to do so, and that'll save both sides money. But if they want to use a realtor, they are also free to do so, and they will obviously need to pay that buy-side realtor in that scenario. So we're giving our sellers a bunch of detailed analytics that they would never normally get when they list a home. So we're telling them exactly how much traffic they've had to their listing pages on all these different sites where we list, and we're telling them how many showings they've had in all of these different places. So you're getting this kind of live feedback from the performance of your listing. And we do all of this and more that I haven't mentioned for just a 1% fee to the seller when the home sells. So that's significantly less than a traditional listing agent that just on the list side would be charging 3.5% on the first 100,000 and 1.5% on the balance. So we're considerably less money than listing with a traditional agent, while also driving considerably more traffic and interest to your listing. I see we've got one question here. So question is, all of this is done by a realtor also, is it not? So yes, we are a licensed brokerage. So in order to be able to list your home on realtor.ca, we have a licensed broker here in-house who gives us access to all of that. And we do have him on our team, so he has all of the real estate experience. If you have any questions, he's able to answer them for you. So yes, we are a licensed brokerage, and yes, that's how we get on realtor.ca. But then what we do after that is give you far more tech tools and insight and data than you would traditionally get with a listing agent. So just to give you a bit of an example of how we send traffic direct to your listing. So here's an example of some ads we run on Facebook recently for a builder that was listing these two homes with us. So you can see it's a carousel ad on Facebook. This would pop up in your newsfeed. You can see pictures of the outside of the home, the kitchen, bedrooms, etc. You've got all of the key information here, some features of the home, what community it's in, the price, and then this call to action here for you to book a viewing. So if someone clicks on one of these ads, they get taken to your listing page where they can see more pictures and learn more about it. The other thing that we do to drive more traffic to your listings is we've got a very unique for sale sign. So it looks like this. It goes in front of your house. And when someone scans the QR code on the front, they get prompted to download the app. They scan it again, and they get this experience live on the screen of their phone. So they can see how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what's the square footage, and what's the list price. And then at the top of the sign pops a kind of key feature of the home, a key selling point of it that you can choose. But the main thing here is this button in the bottom right-hand corner to view this listing. So stood right outside your house, they can click to view that listing, and they would get taken to your listing page on our website. And in the last few moments here, I might just show you what that looks like.
Hey, Alan, we've got quite a few more questions. Maybe you want to answer them.
Sure.
From a fee standpoint, where does Bōde stand compared to other for sale by owner online brokerages?
Yeah, so one of the differences between us and other for sale by owner brokerages, most of those other for sale by owner brokerages will charge you up front. So you have a fee that you have to pay as soon as you want to list. With us, there's no fee until you successfully sell. And we're taking on all of the costs of getting you listed, the photos, the measurements, paying for ads, etc. So if you don't end up selling, there's no cost, which is one big difference. And then if you look at the actual amount, the dollar amount, by the time you end up selling with other for sale by owner brokerages, we normally end up cheaper than they do. But depending on the brokerage, it depends on how much cheaper we are.
Yeah, I've heard just from the clients that I've worked with that it's terrific customer service as well. And like Alan said, they're taking all the risk up front. So I know that most others brokerages aren't doing that.
Yeah, that's right. We're really quite unique in that way. We've also got on our website, if you go to the sell page, we've got a nice calculator there that lets you see exactly how much you're going to save versus a traditional realtor. So you can enter the price of your home and how much buy-side commission, if any, that you'd like to offer to buyers' realtors, and you'll see exactly how much you'll save with us. So I definitely encourage people to take a look at that tool.
Yeah, we've also got Couple more. I don't know if you want to answer this or if I should, but why are condos hard to sell in Calgary?
Yeah, that might be one for both of us. Why don't you take the first shot at it?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, it's mainly due to inventories. The inventories for condos downtown are really high. I would say that the downtown condo market is a lot harder to sell than if you're looking outside of downtown. Um, yeah, and I have a feeling as well that some of it right now could be COVID related, due to the fact that you're living with multiple other people, you're going up and down in elevators and stuff. I live in a condo, so I understand that it's not as easy to live in right now as it is just a detached house. So that could be part of it as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, particularly just on the supply and demand side. If you look at the data right now, there are more apartments listed for sale than there normally are for this time of year, and that's been the case for the last few months. And sales of apartments in the last few months have been lower than they have been in previous years. So I think that's obviously partly driven by COVID, like you're saying, Garrett. People are less interested in living downtown now that they don't need to travel to the office 5 days a week. So people are looking more at moving further outside of the city center. I would say that's the strongest driver of it, is really just the supply and demand dynamics at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a lot of good questions, so hopefully people can stick around for a little bit. But another one is, do you provide actual physical directional signs / lawn signs?
Yes, we have that sign that shows up on my previous slide here. So that goes right outside your home. We are also able to offer directional kind of sandwich board style signs. So it depends on the listing and what your particular requirements are. So, some apartment buildings, for example, don't let you put up a sign outside the building. So there we work with the seller to try and find a solution that fits for their particular situation.
Awesome. I know those signs are pretty interesting and hopefully a way of the future. Another one here, when the posting is posted on websites like Kijiji, which has a paid version to keep the posting on top of the list, does Bōde cover the fee?
So we typically haven't been doing that on Kijiji, and the main reason for that is that we've seen we're actually able to, the better bang for our buck is to be able to advertise that listing online. So we've looked at it. The data seems to show that we're better off running more ads on Facebook and Instagram and on Google than to spend to be at the top of the Kijiji list. That's what's able to generate more views and more showing requests. But it's a good idea, and obviously our sellers, if they want to do that, they're free to do so.
Awesome. I think that's everything here.
Well,
there's one more here. Plus, there's an extremely large amount of fraud with real estate on Kijiji. How do you protect against that?
Yeah, so we, if an inquiry comes through Kijiji for one of our sellers' homes, that seller, I mean, most of the fraud that takes place on Kijiji is people selling fake stuff or stuff that doesn't exist and getting people to transfer them money in advance. So really, as a home seller on Kijiji, you're not really at risk of that because you're the one doing the selling. So you can have inquiries that come from Kijiji. We leave it up to our sellers to decide how they want to handle those inquiries. And you do always have the option with us of asking your buyers or potential buyers to ID verify before they come for a showing. So if you'd like them to take a photo of their ID, their driver's license, or their passport in the exact same way that you would ID verify on Airbnb, you can ask people to do that